Call the Newport City Council meeting to order for Monday, August 21st, 2017, 6:30 p.m., City Council Room. All members of the council are present. Others include our City Manager, Laura Dogan, and our City Clerk Treasurer, James Johnson. The next item is to approve the minutes of August 7th, 2017. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of 7 August 17.
Motion made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion on the minutes. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Next item is comments by members of the public, and I just want to start off by commending Andrea Carbine and Vera Rancourt for their organization of Wednesdays on the Waterfront. It was a wonderful event. The last one that was held this last week, they had over 950 people attend, and I think for the two ladies who organized it, within a month, they organized 6 concerts on the waterfront, and they were all well attended. And then I told them Wednesday they must have had a direct connection upstairs because every single Wednesday was beautiful. 6 weeks, considering the rain we've had this summer. And so I just want to commend them for that. And then under comments, I just want to let everyone know the city received a grant from the USDA. It was in the amount of $79,625. That was a grant for a new excavator, towards the new excavator. And so that was good news on that grant. And then we also received an emergency command center or operations center grant in the amount of $3,869. So we've received in the last month over about $85,000 worth of grants, which helps because every time you receive grant money, it means less that we have to actually put in the budget for equipment and operations on that note. And with that, I'm going to open up to public comment by members of the public. And I have Ann Shirillo.
Yes. Just checking on the time. I'm sorry, James, but procedure has to come up in my mind for the 4th time. I read the procedure rules pretty carefully, and then lo and behold, on the agenda appears some new procedural rules that were never voted on. Now, these were pretty comprehensive, and when you have pretty comprehensive rules, you can't just add them on to an agenda, in my mind. They have to be at least voted on. And I want to tell you why you don't really want these rules. I also want to suggest that some of us are not getting any younger. Life is short. And you have to begin to think about a legacy at some point. Do you want your legacy to be, I managed to cut off as much public comment and discourage as many people from coming as possible? Or do you want to be able to say, I supported free speech. I wanted to hear what the public had to say. Well, think about that. So I was thinking about what you really were doing here. And by limiting us to 2 minutes and having us sign that sheet, we can't do what we normally do, which is have a discussion. I say something, somebody gets up and says, that's not such a good idea. Or they say, you know, that's a good idea and I can better you one. I can say something and they didn't even intend to speak, but now they're speaking and they've added to my idea or someone else's idea and we have a better idea to present. That's not going to happen because you got to run up in the middle of the meeting and add your name and your topic. And it may already be that there's too many names. But I wanted to suggest what these rules of procedure do. I want to read between the lines and tell you what really the 1A, 1B, 1C, the extra parts are. So 1A, we warn these meetings, and we mean it's a warning. If you're in the neighborhood and driving by nearby at the time, please just keep on going. We don't want you here. And 2, if you come, if you show up, please shut up. And 3, if you do talk, we're going to have rules that make it so that you are so limited that you probably wouldn't even be able to get your idea across. Nobody can add to it, really. And 4, if you do say something, for the most part, certain members will be shuffling their papers or going about other things because they can multitask while we're talking, and you're not really interested in what we have to say anyway. And then, how will we respond? We won't say a word about it today. We hope we've discouraged you from coming and that you won't come back next time, and so we wouldn't even have to respond to you. Most of the time we wouldn't respond anyway because we don't think it's appropriate to respond. So, and the last thing, I guess 5, that you read between the lines is, you know, we keep raising your taxes and doing everything we actively can to discourage you. Can you get the idea finally? And you can either move or you can drop dead, but don't come to these meetings anymore. And what I want to say to the public, and especially the young people, is there's got to be people, you know, we're getting old. There's got to be people to replace us. I say to the young people, start coming. Prove them wrong. Make a statement. Push a little. You know, you were the, not all of you, but certainly the mayor, was the one who, when Diane Peel got up and said to you, there's something smelly in the state of Korea, and it's trying to move here, and it's in the form of EB5, and you can't even find it in Korea. Nobody listened to her. They treated her like she was garbage. Yes, thank you. When somebody suggested that they didn't have a clue what they were going to do if they were going to rent ANC bio rooms to people who would come in and experiment on dangerous viruses, they didn't even have a clue as to a safety plan. But everybody said, no, don't get in their way. But the public was telling you things. The public has constantly told you things. When you try to restrict the community garden, we tell you that community garden is a good thing. It provides food for our people. We need to be thinking about that. So I suggest to you, you need to hear us loud and clear and stop making rules, and particularly rules that haven't been voted on, to stop us and cut us off.
Thank you. Did you wish to speak, Pam?
I'm the next one on your list. So
Yes.
Oh, I actually got no comment. My name is Pamela, as I'm second on this magical list. I wanted to ask about Bluff Road. I know that at least 3 of you, probably more, have been to look at what's happened on Bluff Road. There's a ditch, a culvert that's been dug between Scott's Farm and past Racetrack on the left-hand side. To those of us who live there, it looks dangerous. There is no shoulder on the road now. If cars come down that road, they can't even see that there isn't a shoulder. It's pretty dangerous. One tree has already come down. Many of the other trees have roots exposed. Whatever dug that hole, and you just say that you've got a brand new excavator. Well, I really hope it wasn't something that size that dug this ditch. It has trashed those trees. It's dangerous, it's not smart, and I really would like you to comment on that because it's important, and a lot of people have contacted you about it, and some of you have been involved.
You wish to?
I think Tom is here too. So we'll start out like this. When we get areas of concern that come to our main line, we prioritize them. Those that are emergency issues, we tend to right away. Those that are not emergencies get placed logistically on a list. When we got the call about Bluff Road, we went out there and looked at it. Our professionals went out and looked at it and deemed that it was not an emergency issue. It was not a hazard. We continue to get calls. Our Public Works Department has a list of priorities that they're working on. They interrupted their list. They went out there and removed a tree that was, even though it was not a hazard, it was not a priority, they removed it. And at this point, we have procured permission from the landowner to continue to work on that ditch, but it's not a priority, it's not going to happen for a few weeks. It is in the hopper. That's the best I can tell you. It's not considered a hazard, it is not considered an emergency situation.
Okay, thank you.
Can you explain why it was done in the first place? And in that particular way?
I think that's routine road maintenance and ditch
I guess I can
maintenance.
answer that. Since I've been with the city of Newport, we were always told that Dan Scott owned that property, which in the process, we discovered he did not own it, and Doug Amon owned that property. So we were never able to ditch to that side of the road. And as it is, that side of the road is always soft because the water just ponds in there, has nowhere to go. If you walk down that road, there's a culvert down closer to Racetrack Road. To get water to that culvert, you've got to ditch it and slope it that way. We've got a ditch in, there's ledge in there. Might not be the prettiest, but it's going to help hold our road.
Okay, thank you. And then we have Mr. Carty.
Yeah, I came in last week and I asked some questions on the whole downtown. I'm going to hold on right now before I go up and talk to the gentleman because I understand there's a lot of work, a lot of things in the works. So I don't want to do anything that's going to throw a monkey wrench into that. And the other thing is, who came up with the idea of people can only speak for 2 minutes? Because when we had the meeting last week and we were talking about it, there was 5 minutes, there was 10 minutes, even up to 15. I think before you put anything down to 2 minutes, you should get a feedback from the people. Now, somebody should be able to come in and express what they want, not go double track or go on and on and on. But I don't think 2 minutes really is respecting the people's opinion out here, Paul. And if somebody, after this is over, are we allowed, if somebody says something or on a subject during the meeting, to raise our hands and speak?
Okay, I came up with this to better allow equal time amongst the participating members of the meeting. It's not uncommon to have time limits during a public comment period. I chose 2 minutes. Am I going to hold people 2 minutes? I haven't tonight. It's just a guideline. But as far as signing in, that's not uncommon either.
No,
To have people
bother
sign
me.
in on what they wish to comment about. That's not uncommon at many boards. Many boards, you have to sign in before before the public comment period. The 2 minutes, I put that number down. I am the moderator of the meeting. I have that leeway to set time limits. That is my leeway as the moderator of this board. And as mayor, I set the agenda, so I chose to put that on the agenda. That is why it's on the agenda, because that is set, per the city charter, I'm the one who sets the council agenda. I either say yay or nay on what's on the agenda, and I can add things of my own prerogative to the agenda. And so that is why that is here. I put the 2 minutes as a guideline. I mean, am I going to hold tight to 2 minutes? Well, if we had a room full of 25 people and 25 people wanted to speak, I would make sure I stuck to the 2 minute guideline. But if there's just a few people who wish to speak, I probably won't stick right to that. It's just a guide. But as moderator of this board, I have that right and authority to set time limits during the public comment period. Now, as far as voting, as far as speaking during the meeting, if there's a motion made on the floor after the council has discussed it and before the vote, I open it up to the public for comment and questions at that time.
Yeah.
And so that is allowed during the meeting. And so that, I'm the one who chose to put that there.
I would just hope if it's an older person, there would be a little leeway there, or it's an important subject.
There was one night we had a room full of people here, and I allowed 2 minutes, right? I strict 2 minutes.
Okay.
Because of the number of people, I think we went 45, almost to an hour with the public comment, because I was trying to give everyone 2 minutes that night. And so this is just a number that I put down as a guide. Mr. Chanel?
It should also be noticed that even the legislative breakfast limits people when they get up and speak. All the legislators have a certain amount of time where they present their topics, and then people are allowed to ask questions after. So limiting the speakers to a certain time limit is a legitimate thing you can do in rules.
I completely understand that you have the authority by the city charter and as the moderator to set forth things that we haven't previously agreed upon. However, we've spent hours over the last 3 meetings hashing out how we want our rules of procedure and what exactly the language should be. In the first 2 meetings, it was said that the lawyer needs to approve it so no changes can be made. And then the lawyer had to look at some suggested revisions. And then we finally came to an agreement at our last meeting. And then lo and behold, there's these new things being added in that we have not been privy to. And that feels really disrespectful to the democratic process.
Well, I'm just exercising my authority as the moderator of this council to set a time limit. Now, am I going to hold people? Like I said, I put 2 minutes down. That's a guide. I allowed Ann to speak more than 2 minutes, and because there's not a lot of people tonight who are here to speak. So it's just a guide. And that's what I chose to put down. And this is not uncommon in boards throughout the state of Vermont. I do my homework before I just randomly put things on the agenda. This is not uncommon, this in here. And having people sign in. There's a lot of boards that you have to sign in before you can even speak. And so this is not uncommon. I have not done anything that is not uncommon throughout the state of Vermont. I just want to make sure that we have equal access to everybody here in the room, because sometimes I have felt that not everyone has had a chance to have equal say or equal access. And so I'm trying to set a little more structure, and that's what I want to do. And I need to...
Just what I'm trying to get across. Nobody's questioning that you have the power to put down what you want. But what you got to understand, at the last meeting, I didn't hear 2 minutes mentioned. When you hear, and this isn't, I'm not criticizing about, when you hear 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and people get up and walk out of this room, and then we walk in and get this says it's down to 2, you got to expect somebody to come in here and maybe be a little bit on edge. It's not we're questioning your authority. If people would know this ahead of time, when it was ended last week, there should have been a time before all the council to say 5 minutes and that's it, or 2 minutes. I just want you to see where we're coming from. You understand? Okay, that's all. Yeah. I mean, I have no problem with it, don't get me wrong. But when we hear one thing and then we leave and we come back in and it's something else, it's hard.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm not on the list, and I didn't know there was a list, and I wanted to make a comment. So how's that going to work?
I would like to make a comment.
Could I ask about the getting on a list? Wouldn't it be easier to circulate a sign-in form so everybody here can just sign in, and then whoever wants to talk could, instead of having to be here early enough to sign in before the meeting starts?
Actually, there's some communities where you actually sign in the Friday before. I found that. No, which is kind of crazy. Well, people can roll their eyes at me. I've been doing my research on this. People can roll their eyes all they want, some people in the room. All I can say is that this was up here in the front. Now, I know one city council in Vermont that I went to, or talked to the mayor actually, I didn't go to, I talked to the mayor and I watched the video. They actually had this in the back of the room, so as you enter, you could sign in. We could have it on the table back there.
Just to facilitate, so I don't have to interrupt the meeting, have somebody sign me in or whatever.
Right.
So I'm bringing it up as an issue.
Yeah.
That would, there's a way to make it easier.
Yeah,
So
we
that's
can
not
have it-
really what I wanted to say, but I said it, okay.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say was, I went to the website this morning, found the document about tonight's meeting. It was helpful. There's not a lot on the agenda, but I'm sure in the future it will be just as helpful. And as a reporter, it will help us to do our job better. And I'm sure it will help other people to follow along when you're discussing things. So that is appreciated.
Okay. Anything else? We're going to move move on. We now need an executive session pending litigation contract Title I VSA 313A1A, A1E, interlocal agreement for water between the Village of Derby Center and the City of Newport, 1997. We need a motion for an executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that the specific findings of which premature general public knowledge would clearly place the board and/or persons involved at a substantial disadvantage. And furthermore, I move to enter executive session with counsel for confidential attorney-client communications concerning contracts and pending litigation.
A motion has been made. Is there a second? Motion made and seconded. Discussion on the motion. Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. We will be going into a brief executive session and then
Who, if anybody, is joining the
our
board?
Public Works Director, Tom Bernier,
Yeah.
wastewater Chief Operator, Pedro Grondin, and our City Attorney, Joseph Carter.
If I don't come back.
Yeah, I'm ready. That's on. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to have a brief presentation by the council regarding negotiations with the Village of Derby Center as to the pending litigation over water service. Attorney Farnham will be making the presentation.
This is just a brief summary of what's transpired in the wake of the Orleans Superior Court's decisions of October of 2016. So in the interest of efficiency, I'll read from this brief summary that I compiled. Litigation, which began in 2009, arose out of a 1997 agreement requiring the Village of Derby Center to supply water to the City of Newport for development of an industrial district. The city claimed that the contract did not authorize the village to adopt a new rate schedule in 2006 that included a ready-to-serve fee on top of actual water usage charges. The village counterclaimed, alleging that the city connected customers who were not authorized under the contract and that the city's water use was chronically underreported due to equipment malfunction. Excuse me. In 2014, the Vermont Supreme Court ruled that the village was legally authorized to charge the city the rates and the ready-to-serve fees at issue. At the same time, the court remanded to the Orleans Superior Court the merits of the village claims as to 3 unauthorized outside of the industrial park connections. In October of 2016, after a bench trial, the Superior Court ruled that the 3 connections outside of the industrial park were in fact unauthorized by the original agreement in 1997 and directed that the 2 municipalities, quote, resolve any questions regarding the continuing viability of those connections and damages, if any, resulting therefrom. I became involved around November of 2016. Since that time, the 2 municipalities have substantively negotiated principally through the attorneys. In broad terms, the city, through a team comprised of the city manager, 2 of the council members, and the city's public works director, and myself, sought a resolution that would maintain the supply of the village water to the city at least until such time as the city endeavors to construct infrastructure that would allow it to supply city water to the industrial district and beyond. At times, a tower and associated lines have been considered. Those considerations, while at the same time seeking a resolution which would adequately, at least in their view, respond to the village's claims of damages. Negotiations have resulted in a tentative agreement that the village tendered to the city in the middle of last week, an agreement which, subject to approval of the city council, is intended to accomplish the following two principal aspects of the conclusion of the litigation. On or before next Monday, August 28th, the city would pay the village $50,000 as compensation for the village's perceived past damages as a result of the unauthorized connections, and as remuneration in part for the authorization, the continuing viability, if you would, of the 3 connections that are outside the park, and in fact the 4th. The negotiations wound up having us discuss not just 3 connections outside the industrial park, but 4 total. The city would no longer enjoy the 10% discount that was provided for in the 1997 agreement with regard to those connections inside the industrial park, and any village water, if this agreement is approved, any village water until another water source is arrived at would be charged by the village to the city at their prevailing rates, the same rates that their users pay. If that's the first principal aspect. The second, if and when the city has in place the necessary infrastructure that village water will no longer be needed, the city would pay $30,000 to the village and then provide city water to all the industrial connections, industrial district connections, the 4 connections we just discussed, I just spoke of, and ostensibly any other connections that the city wanted to make, at least as within the city. In addition, the negotiations involved the parties talking about existing town connections along East Main Street, and if the city arrives at another source and eventually takes over the water that's flowing through that main, that $30,000 that I just mentioned would be intended as remuneration for essentially the winding down of the agreement effectively at that point. But in addition, the city would provide water to upwards of, at least provide water to up to 9 parcels that are along East Main Street. And the agreement, if it's executed, has a map that specifically shows those properties. They're in the town, but along East Main Street. That's the summary fashion. Thank you.
May I ask for clarification on something that you said rather quickly? You mentioned when the city, or if the city no longer needs village water, $30,000 would be paid plus something about 4 connections, and I didn't understand that, or I didn't get exactly what you said.
I'll just, to the extent it's part of the tender document now, as candidly as the negotiations, more recently the negotiations had the village, I think it's fair to say objectively, concerned about what would happen to some properties below what's called the master meter bulb, which is the line running through the town, not the city at that point.
The town of Derby.
Town of Derby.
Yeah.
Since the 97 agreement, the village has been supplying water to those parcels. There was negotiations over if the city ever comes online and supplies the water, who gets to sell, who gets to service the water to that. And in the version that's been tendered, ultimately, ostensibly, in exchange, in consideration for that second round of remuneration, we get the city would then service those 4 and up to 5 others, it looks like, from the map. Just briefly.
Yes, just to be clear, the elimination of the 10% discount in the 1997 interlocal agreement, is that for all water that the city buys from Derby, including the industrial park?
Yes, at this point, you'd be talking about, as I understand it, the 3 existing connections inside the park, and then the 4 outside. Seven connections at that juncture would be, at least the city would be paying the going rate from the village. And the city having the authority to set its rates by charter, that notwithstanding.
And one other, I think an easy question, just so I'm clear, is the issue with the 9 properties, technically in Derby, but would be served, is that because the main that the city constructed with federal assistance would be filled with city water instead of Derby water?
I think it's probably a fair assumption that figured into it. That the document that's been tendered talks about the city being able to serve those, and no others in the town without consulting the village.
Thank you.
You read something. Could we have a copy of that?
We expect that there'll be requested copies for what I just read, and the agreement, if the council passes it tonight, signed, where the city will probably avail itself of the standard 3 days. We want to get the copy. If it passes this evening, we want to do the courtesy to the other party to get them to sign the agreement before it's distributed.
Well, then, can I be specific? Your summary, could we get a copy of that? Since you read it out loud here, that's a public document. If we're going to have to wait for the actual agreement. Can we have a copy of what you read out? Just so, I mean, you know.
Any objection by anyone on the board, the council? Okay. Yeah, we can give you a copy.
Okay, thank you.
I'll stop after this. I know that in the village's minutes, they have voted on several proposed amendments to the interlocal agreement in the past weeks. Have they voted on this particular amendment?
Yes, if I wasn't clear, yes. The council has before it and executed by the village the property.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. We now need a motion. Mr. Shinet, would you like to make the motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we execute the 2017 amendment to 1997 interlocal agreement as signed by the Village of Derby Center trustees on August 15th, 2017, in order to comply with the Orleans Superior Court's order of 2016 and to address the city's arrangements with the Village of Derby Center as to water service.
So a motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. Discussion from council members. Discussion from anyone in the audience. Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. We have some documents to sign. Paul.
I'd like that motion.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, you're signing a document right now. That's a public document that you're signing.
3 days,
That's not a
but-
legal, 3 days is a courtesy that you're discussing. That's not
I don't know what the attorney addressed
legal
is.
public.
Yeah, and Laura can make, I'm gonna make sure I give Laura the correct,
I understand, I just want to make.
No, actually-
Public document.
right, it would be a public document once they execute it. In fact, the law allows the custodian of the record to wait 3 full business days before even responding in the latest iteration of the statute. It used to be 2.
in layman's term, can we at least have the courtesy to let the village of trustees have a signed document? You know, it's common courtesy. We're signing a contract here that we've been negotiating since November, and it's the agreement from 1997, and we're amending it. This is quite something. It would be nice to at least give them the courtesy to give them, did they give you a signed copy before I mean, you know, I know what you're gonna say, they didn't ask for it. You know, I just think it's common courtesy to at least allow the village trustees to have a copy of it before. I'm sure they'll have it.
We have to, the city has to comply with the public records law. The law expressly states that a response doesn't need to be made until 3 business days, where it used to be 2.
To the other party.
To the requester. In this case, you.
I don't want to belabor this because I can see where this is going. But yes, it is true that you can wait 3 days, but you're not required to wait 3 days. And in fact, you could, if you chose, hand it over right now, or say tomorrow after we notify the village that of the action. I mean, you could make any choice.
No, you're correct. We can take up to 3 days. It's not uncommon to invoke the 3 days and then produce it well before the 3 days runs.
Seeing how the village has already signed it, what's the 3-day courtesy?
I believe the mayor just as a simple matter of courtesy to the other party to produce it. Give it to them, let them make copies, let them process the fact that it's been executed, and go from there.
May I ask, I mean, are they meeting tomorrow night? Is there a reason for giving them a couple extra days? When is their next meeting?
I mean, it very well may be delivered tomorrow morning.
They may provide you a copy too.
I don't know, I just think that we ought to at least give them the courtesy of having, you know, our council's signatures before, just the way I deal with, you know.
It's a public document right now.
That's right. You're absolutely right. It's a public document after it's executed here, subject to the public document statute, which provides for 3 business days for even a, I got your email, or thank you for your response, we're processing it. It's not 3 days to provide the document. It's 3 days to respond in some fashion. The usual response being, here it is. We've got no reason to keep it.
So
I trust.
Okay. Here's the argument. Mr. Mayor. Okay. We're sitting in this situation where it may be a courtesy to them, and you can provide a way to do that without having to make the press and everybody else wait for 2 days, just arbitrarily picking a few days. You know, I mean, I understand the gesture. I think you could provide them a copy first thing tomorrow morning and then give it to us, but it's a public document right now. I dispute that argument based on practice in the city in the past. And I don't understand the courtesy to another board versus the courtesy to the public. And I'm speaking on behalf of the public. Just because I'm a reporter, I'm still the public. I just don't think that it balances out. And I understand, and if they've already voted on it, it's not like if they hadn't voted on it, then I could understand you're still going back and forth, but you're done now. You're saying you're done. You just want to be nice and let them know before you let us know. That doesn't hold up. So I'm
just a nice person.
I know. But I'm not disputing that. That's my point. I just think it's a courtesy that is, you can tell them you wish to, and the press argued and asked for it politely, and said, I mean, it's a 20-year argument that's been going on and has caused problems with developers. And people are going to be interested to know, and I see no really good reason not to release it once it's signed.
Thank you.
So, I know, I mean, I'm arguing with the council, I mean, at this point, I understand the point of view, but I just don't see it.
Let's say this, I think it's probably a very fair assumption that the city council will have in mind your comments as it determines whether to take the full 3 days to produce the document.
To begin with, so I don't repeat, I wish to associate myself with my colleagues' comments. Furthermore, I acknowledge that you, Mr. Mayor, are a nice person, and I'm hoping to prevail on that niceness in a bit of special pleading. As a reporter for a weekly paper, my deadline is tomorrow. My readers will have to wait an extra week if I cannot see this, whereas, obviously the Daily and Cal Rec is in a different situation. This is a matter of some importance to me, and if you would take that into mind, I would be most grateful.
Offer a suggestion. Yes. When do you go to press?
Oh, if I can get this by tomorrow afternoon, I would be very satisfied. So I do not feel compelled to go home and read this.
So, then is it possible for us to get this up to them tomorrow morning, so they have it in their hands, and then provide the press with a copy of it by press time for the Chronicle and the other papers? Is there a problem with that?
May I add a informational thing? I mean, their office closes at noon, so indeed, if you don't provide it to them before noon, they're not going to see it tomorrow at all. So,
What time is their office open?
logistically,
I've got the clerk's office, yeah.
In the village.
They've got to be open early.
You can endeavor to
I will hand deliver, I work by Century 21, I can go the extra and deliver it to them and let you know when it's been delivered, and then you can have it available.
Online.
public document.
Yeah, you could have it scanned online, I don't see an issue with having it scanned online, do you? Because once it's delivered and
once it's delivered.
we could have it online.
That would be my compromise.
And I can deliver it first thing in the morning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. We voted on that too, because we've signed it. We're gonna move on. Yes.
Laura has a copy.
Yeah, they're good.
Michelle, thank you all.
I'm with McNeil, MCSEI,
Joe, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. And thank you to our committee.
Head west.
Thanch you to our committee, which was Tom and
Watch out for
council.
the beer.
Yes.
They're gonna be out.
Yeah. The next item, we don't today for the last thing, is to appoint the VLCT voting delegate. Generally, it's been myself to attend, and it's the annual meeting of the VLCT, and the voting delegate, this is where they vote on the municipal policy.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we elect you to serve in that position for us.
Motion been made, is there a second?
I'll second.
Made and seconded. Discussion on that motion?
Is it a fun meeting?
It's a statement.
Informational question.
No, it can be interesting, because even though they've come up with a recommended municipal policy, you can make changes from the floor. And one year, Mr. Ward, the former city manager, and I almost got them to change something. It failed by 2 votes. It's something that we really wanted, and I almost convinced everybody to go along, but it failed by 2 votes. So it's on the floor, they allow the voting delegates to, you go through and you discuss the whole municipal. We'll have a draft of the municipal policy before that meeting. Actually, I think I may have gotten one in the email, which I can make sure I'll give to Laura to put up on the website, and you all get a copy. Okay. Anything else? Discussion on that? Then
I'm sure you'll do a great job.
Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Mr. Johnson, I guess I'll wait. I'll wait for Laura to get back with any business in case it involves. So we'll wait a minute. You have to get a copy of it. Right. Hopefully read that tomorrow.
Read my name. Mr. Mary, you made a tactical error. You should have asked Dr. Taller to make the meal.
Yes.
So.
Okay, there.
Was it?
Some years it's good, some years it's...
I could have asked about the location.
Well, it's at Killington. It's a long drive. It's a long drive to Killington.
Pretty worthwhile drive, though.
Because when it's in Champlain Valley Fair, it's a lot easier to get to. Killington's about, what, 3.5?
Yeah, about as inconvenient from here as you can get.
Yeah.
More convenient than it would be in the winter.
Yeah, luckily it's in
We were
the...
signing stuff for special general one time. I totally shared those things.
No, the ski areas don't tend to be looking for things to use their facilities for in the winter so much.
Oh, thank you so much.
Now you,
Passed, I just handed out.
thank you very much.
Well, we just approved meeting in the voting delegate. Yeah, just... Okay, we'll move on. Mr. Johnson, do you have any new business? Oh. No. Any new business? No? No. Mr. Wilson? Mr. Bowen? New business? No. I brought my new business up under public comment. New business, Mr. Shinesky?
Yes, one item. It was brought to my attention over the weekend that there is a bush on the corner of Maple and Indian Point Street It probably has to be trimmed back a little bit because when you pull up to the end of Maple, to get onto Indian Point Street, if you look down to the left, you can't see around that much. So if we could probably have Mr. Bernier stop and take a look at that and see what he thinks, I would appreciate it. And so would be constituent.
Am I?
And so would be constituent.
Anything else? That's it.
So Wednesday on the waterfront went so well, and you had 900 people, and even we had 100 people down at the Gateway Center for the GMFTS, the Farm School Gala, which was a great event. So really, that was more than 1,000 people out on the city waterfront having a great time, and that was a great event, and was a great fundraiser for a great organization. So I'd like to thank everyone. Really, we made last Wednesday a pretty fantastic day all the way around.
I wondered who was at the gateway.
Yeah.
Because I parked there and walked over to the...
She split her time. She got all the way around. It was nice.
Oh, okay. Anything else? Anything else on your
Thank you.
I just want to emphasize on that USDA grant, kudos to Tom Bernier. He's the one who filed that. We worked with Ben Doyle's office and our congressional delegation. And one of the primary reasons we were able to get that grant is a direct result of the winter zone. And I just want to give all of that major kudos. We're going through the paperwork now. The paperwork and grants are always fun, but we are absolutely thrilled. And so I just want to underscore the magnitude of that grant award for the city.
Great. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Then we'll move on. Mr. Johnson, old business? No. Mr. Wilson? Jerome?
Just a question. How often do we get a report from the consultant, the white folks?
They generally send an invoice monthly, and that's in your warrants. There's a whole array of activities that they do.
So it's monthly? Okay.
Yes? I have nothing. Mr. Schlepp?
Actually, this would be old and new, I suppose. The airport, with the extension, allowed a plane, a jet, to land this past weekend, and that group was pretty impressed with the airport. So I would say congratulations to all those of you who worked on that committee to have that done. I know you worked on that.
Yes, that must have been the jet that flew over my house. Your house too. Yes, I saw that. And then there was a couple other ones that landed, because I have the flight tracker on my phone. I think I forget the email date, but within the next 20 to 30 days, I believe, is when the official name gets changed in the FAA database. As we know, the state accepted the renaming of the airport, but it didn't get, had to wait basically a year and a half for the FAA. That'll be happening shortly. So officially in the FAA database, it'll be known as the Northeast Kingdom International Airport. And so, just a little update, our committee is still working on things at the airport. We meet monthly. The next big thing that we're working on is we're looking at ways of funding the terminal, to have a new terminal or retrofit an existing hangar into a terminal. Because as we all know, the existing terminal building was built out of cinder blocks in the 1940s. It's a little dated. And so we're working on that aspect. We know there's grant money and other things like that. And we're working hard to try to get Customs and Border Protection to service the airport. Because right now they have a little loophole where they don't actually have to go to the airport, even though it's classified in the FAA database as a landing rights airport, which means you can file a flight plan from, say, Montreal to Newport, but when you call to arrange for inspection services, they say you have to go to Burlington. So they have to make that little extra. And sometimes in bad weather, it can be tricky. And so we're working on that. That's another big thing that our committee is working on. But as far as the project goes, everything is pretty well completed. As far as the runway, they built the whole extended taxiway, all new lighting. So yeah, jets land there, and the people have been very appreciative. As we all know, it was in the Newport paper. Kyle Busch landed there recently, and basically it was because of the fuel, and it was the runway length in the inclement weather, and it was raining at the time, and because of the runway, he could land his jet there. And so, it's a piece of the puzzle in the economic future of the area. And so, it's good. Anything else? Any old business?
Can I get your signed delegate form? You have it in your file?
I will find it.
Okay. I gotta submit that.
Yes.
And if you need one, I've got a clean one.
Yeah, I think I will, because I think I wrote on the one I had. It's probably in my bag.
Okay. And other than that, I don't have any old business. Thank you.
All right then, we'll set the next meeting date. The next city council meeting will be Monday, September 11, 2017. The next centennial planning meeting will be September 21st, 2017. And now we need a motion to adjourn at 7:55.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Motion is made, is there a second?
Second.
Made and seconded, discussion, and all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the ayes have it.